Pricing is one of those topics that can feel like a dark art to many. You know, it's like trying to find the perfect balance between what you think your product is worth and what your customers are willing to pay. It's a dance, really. And if you step on the wrong toes, you could end up losing customers, or worse, your business. So let's break this down together, because understanding pricing and costing is critical for any business, whether you're a startup or an established company. First off, let's talk about costing. This is the foundation of your pricing strategy. Costing is all about calculating the total expenses associated with producing your product or delivering your service. If you don't have a solid grasp of your costs, you're setting yourself up for failure. There are two main types of costs you need to understand: fixed costs and variable costs. Fixed costs are those expenses that remain constant no matter how much you produce. Think of rent, salaries, or insurance. These are your baseline expenses, the things you have to pay regardless of whether you sell 1 unit or 1,000. On the flip side, we have variable costs, which change depending on your production volume. This includes things like raw materials, packaging, and direct labor costs. If you're making candles, for example, the wax, wicks, and scents are all variable costs. The more candles you make, the more these costs will add up. Now, let's get a little more granular. You have direct costs, which are directly tied to the production of your product. For our candle example, that would be the cost of the wax and the labor to pour the candles. Then, there are indirect costs, which are necessary for running your business, but aren't directly linked to production. Think utilities, administrative expenses, or marketing. So, how do you calculate your total cost per unit? It's pretty straightforward. You add your fixed and variable costs together, and then divide that sum by the number of units you're producing. Let's say you have 2,000 in fixed costs, and you're producing 500 candles at a variable cost of $5 each. Your total cost per unit would be $9. That's the magic number you need to keep in mind. Now that you have your costs figured out, it's time to determine your pricing strategy. This is where things can get a little tricky. Your pricing strategy should reflect not just your costs, but also your brand positioning and the expectations of your customers. One common method is cost-plus pricing. This is where you take your total cost per unit and add a markup percentage to determine your selling price. It's simple and ensures that all your costs are covered. For instance, if your cost per candle is $9 and you want a 50% markup, your selling price would be $13.50. Easy, right? But here's the catch. This method doesn't take into account what competitors are charging or what customers are willing to pay. That brings us to value-based pricing. This strategy focuses on the perceived value of your product to the customer rather than just the cost. If your candles are made with unique, high-quality ingredients that save your customers time or enhance their experience, you might be able to charge a premium. Understanding your customer's perception of value is key here, and it often requires a bit of market research. Then there's competitive pricing, where you set your prices based on what your competitors are charging for similar products. This is common in markets where products are similar, like grocery items. It keeps your pricing relevant, but be careful. It might overlook your actual production costs and could squeeze your profit margins. Let's not forget about penetration pricing. This is a strategy where you introduce your product at a low price to quickly attract customers and gain market share. It's great for building brand awareness, but you'll need to plan for how and when to increase your prices later on. And finally, there's premium pricing or skimming pricing. This is all about setting a high price to create a perception of quality or exclusivity. Think luxury brands. If you're selling something unique that stands out in a crowded market, this could be your go-to strategy. Just remember, it's limited to customers who can afford that premium price. Now, here are some key considerations to keep in mind when setting your prices. First, understand customer perception and demand. What do your customers think your product is worth? Conduct surveys or analyze competitor pricing to find acceptable ranges. Second, align your prices with your brand's market position. Are you aiming for affordable, mid-range, or luxury? Your pricing will shape how customers view your product's quality. Profit margins are crucial too. Ensure your prices generate a healthy margin above costs to support your business growth. And don't forget about break-even analysis. This is the point where your sales cover your costs. Knowing your break-even point helps you set realistic sales goals. Let's wrap this up with a quick example. Imagine you're producing those handmade candles again. You have $500 in fixed costs, a variable cost of $5 per candle, and you want to produce 200 candles with a desired markup of 40%. Your total cost per candle is $7.50, and your selling price would be $10.50. By pricing your candles this way, you ensure that all costs are covered and you achieve your desired profit margin. In summary, pricing and costing are vital elements of a successful business strategy. They require a thoughtful approach that balances profitability with customer satisfaction. Whether you choose cost-plus, value-based, competitive, penetration, or premium pricing, remember that understanding your costs and your market is key to long-term success. So take the time to analyze, strategize, and watch your business thrive.